Hey guys, and welcome to Movies in 20. My name is John Campea. Now, Movies in 20 basically takes movies that you've probably heard talked about a lot or you constantly hear being talked about a lot, but you've never seen it yourself. So we, in just 20 minutes, try to give you the full rundown of a movie so you can keep up in those conversations and hopefully by the end, inspire you to go and watch the full movie yourself. And today, we've got a treat. We're talking about one of my favorite movies of all time, Russell Crowe's Gladiator, a Best Picture winner, so let's not waste any time and get right to it. Gladiator originally came out back in 2020 and became one of the most nominated films in Oscar history with 12 nominations and 5 wins. That year, Gladiator won Best Picture, Best Actor for Russell Crowe, Best Sound, Best Costume Design, and Best Visual Effects. Its other notable nominations were Best Director for Ridley Scott, Best Supporting Actor for Joaquin Phoenix, and Best Score for Hans Zimmer. As already mentioned, the movie was directed by legendary director Ridley Scott, who has never won the Best Director Oscar, but he has been nominated 4 times for Gladiator, Thelma and Louise, Black Hawk Down, and most recently in 2015 for The Martian. He's also directed iconic films like, Blade Runner, Alien, and many, many others. Okay, so the movie stars Russell Crowe, and you may or may not know he's my favorite actor of all time, as our main character, Maximus, aka the Gladiator. On top of his Oscar win for Gladiator, Russell Crowe has also been nominated 2 other times for Best Actor for his work in The Insider, which I love, and A Beautiful Mind. Now, our villain in the film is played brilliantly by Joaquin Phoenix as the usurper emperor Commodus. Phoenix recently won the Best Actor Oscar for Joker, you'll remember that, and has also been nominated for The Master, Walk the Line, on top of his Best Supporting Actor nomination for Gladiator. Now, this fantastic cast is rounded out by the legendary Richard Harris, Oliver Reed, who, by the way, passed away before he was able to fully complete his shooting for this movie, Wonder Woman's mother herself, Connie Nielsen, and the incredible Djimon Hounsou. All right, so the movie opens up as the Roman legions under the command of General Maximus are getting ready for battle to take down the last remaining Germania stronghold to end like a 12-year battle campaign to solidify the region for Caesar and Rome. As the battle is about to begin, Quintus, leader of Caesar's elite Praetorian Guard, looks out at the Germanian forces and says to Maximus, "People should know when they're conquered." To which Maximus says, like one of the best lines, "Would you, Quintus? Would I?" I love that line, and it tells us so much about Maximus already this early in the film. Anyway, Maximus then turns to Quintus and says the basic catchphrase of the movie, "Strength and honor." Is there a more badass phrase? I think not. Strength and honor. A brutal battle scene then proceeds, and Maximus leads his forces to victories for the Roman Empire. The film shows that all the men love and revere their General Maximus and would follow him to hell. Now, meanwhile, up on the hill, the Emperor Caesar, played by Richard Harris, looks on in relief as his armies secure the victory. With the victory now secured, we cut to the road as a caravan carrying Caesar's children, Lucilla, played by Connie Nielsen, and Commodus, played by Joaquin Phoenix. Caesar has summoned them to the battlefront because they believe Caesar is getting ready to appoint Commodus as his successor as Caesar. Meanwhile, Maximus is greeted by Caesar on the battlefield, who congratulates him and asks him how he would like to be rewarded. Now, this is where we learn that all Maximus dreams of, he doesn't want to be a big war hero. All he wants in life is to retire and return home to his wife and his son that he hasn't seen in almost 3 years to live out the rest of his days in peace as a farmer. Now, at this point, Commodus and his sister arrives at the scene of the victory and congratulates Caesar and greets Maximus as a brother. The two clearly know each other and probably have known each other their entire lives. At the celebration that happens later on, we learn that Caesar's daughter, Lucilla, and Maximus used to have a thing in the past, and Lucilla is still kind of hung up on him. The following morning, Caesar summons Maximus to his tent, where he reveals to him that he does not intend to name his son Commodus as the next Caesar because he is too cruel and corrupt. Instead, Caesar intends to name Maximus as his successor for the purpose of moving Rome away from the control of the Caesars and back to the control of the people under the Senate, making it a republic once again. Maximus is completely taken aback by this. He's never even been to Rome. He just considers himself a simple man and a simple soldier wanting to serve Caesar, and he's never even been there before. All he wants to do is go home. So he asks Caesar to please give him a day to at least think about it and he leaves. Maximus returns to his own tent where we meet his faithful servant Cicero, played by Sons of Anarchy actor Tommy Flanagan, by the way. Cicero becomes important later in the film, so remember this face. Anyway, Maximus tells Cicero that they may not be able to return home just yet after all, as they had been planning. Meanwhile, back at Caesar's tent, Commodus arrives, and Caesar tells him that he will not be emperor and that Maximus will rule to pass the power back to the Senate. A powerful exchange, like a really good dramatic exchange between the two as a father and son comes out, where some of Caesar's failures as a father come into light, and the fact that, Commodus actually really does love and respect his father. But as Caesar offers to embrace Commodus, the son murders his father by suffocating him. Caesar then dies. Not knowing what's going on, Maximus is later called to Caesar's tent again, where he learns that his Caesar is dead. Quintus, Lucilla, and Commodus are there, and Commodus tells Maximus that Caesar has died in his sleep and asks Maximus to pledge his loyalty to him as the new emperor. Maximus is not dumb, though, and he suspects that Commodus killed Caesar and leaves without giving loyalty to Commodus. Lucilla also has figured out that Commodus killed her father and slaps him in the face, but then kisses his hand and acknowledges Commodus as the new Caesar. Now, as Maximus prepares in his tent to leave for Rome to consult the senators, Quintus arrives to arrest him with his Praetorian guards. Maximus asks Quintus to at least promise him to look after his wife and son, but Quintus sadly and regrettably has to tell him that they have been ordered to be executed as well. Maximus is then knocked out. Not wanting Maximus's loyal army to see them executing their general, Maximus is taken out into the woods by the guards to execute him, but Maximus takes them all out. Unfortunately, in taking them all out, he also gets wounded. He desperately then tries to get on a horse and ride home in time to save his family, but he arrives too late. The Praetorian guards have already been there, and they have murdered his wife and his son. A completely destroyed and grieving Maximus then buries his wife and son, and then passes out from his wounds, believing that he's probably going to die. However, a little while later, he wakes up to find that he has been captured by slavers. His wounds have been treated, and he is immediately sold to Proximo, played by Oliver Reed, who buys Maximus and Juba, played by Jamon Hansu, who kind of becomes his best friend moving forward, to be taken to his facility and trained to be gladiators, so they can fight and die for his profit and the entertainment of the crowd. They have no idea who Maximus really is. The new gladiators are taken to their first event, where they are chained to one another in pairs and sent out into the arena to fight against warriors waiting to kill them. Maximus and Juba are chained together, and together, Maximus and the other gladiators are victorious. Meanwhile, back in Rome, Commodus, the newly appointed Caesar, has his first meeting with the Senate, and it doesn't go well. He has no idea what the F he's doing or what it really takes to lead. His sister ends the argument between the senators himself and speaks privately with Commodus. He has to come up with a plan to give the people of Rome a spectacle of games to distract them and to make them love him. I know it's a stupid sounding plan, but like I said, he has no idea what he's doing. Now, back in the outer provinces at the Gladiatorium, Maximus is now simply known as Spaniard, and he is clearly now honored among all the other gladiators. We see him back in the ring taking on 5 warriors by himself, and he makes instantly quick work of all of them, just slaughters all of them. He is clearly not impressed with what's going on, and he yells his immortal words at the crowd that we've seen in 1,000 memes. "Are you not entertained?" People will be saying this line forever, mark my words. Anyway, at this point, Proximo summons Maximus to him and explains that Commodus has arranged for the gladiators to fight again in Rome. He tells him that if he can fight and win over the crowd, that he could possibly win his freedom as Proximo once did. As it turns out, Proximo himself was once a gladiator and was given his freedom by Emperor Marcus, that's Commodus's father. Anyway, Maximus really isn't interested in his freedom. He secretly just wants to be able to stand in front of Commodus so he can kill him and get his revenge. So he decides to go along with the plan. Back at the palace, Commodus and Lucilla talk as Commodus suggests that it might be time to dissolve the Senate. Lucilla tells him to rest and not make any decisions right now. She's clearly afraid of what Commodus is becoming, even though she is his sister. It's in this sequence that we learn that Commodus actually has a sexual attraction to his sister. However, his advances are rejected. You see, Gladiator was like 10 years ahead of Game of Thrones, like by a decade. Okay, now the day of the games has arrived and the gladiators are sent in for what is almost sure to be a complete slaughter. They are to reenact the Battle of Carthage against a large number of Roman soldiers in the arena just waiting there to kill them. It's meant to be a slaughter, like it's designed to be a complete slaughter. Proximo is completely unhappy because all of his gladiators are going to get killed for no really good reason and not a lot of money, but it is the way it is. As they head out into the arena, the gladiators are given weapons and helmets. Maximus chooses a helmet with a mask on it to help keep his identity a secret since he knows Commodus will be there watching the fights and he doesn't want him to recognize him. The gladiators now all stand together in the Colosseum alone, awaiting their opponents when the doors open and Roman soldiers riding armed chariots emerge. Maximus tells his men to work together and they will survive. The gladiators follow Maximus's commands just like he was still a general on the field, and they ultimately end up victorious, defeating the Roman chariots. At the end of the battle, even though, the Roman soldiers were supposed to win and the gladiators were supposed to be dead, Commodus is nonetheless impressed, and he wants to meet this warrior, this Spaniard. Praetorian soldiers flood the arena and surround the gladiators and are told to drop their weapons as the Emperor Commodus comes walking out onto the field. Commodus congratulates the Spaniard on his victory and tells him to remove his helmet and tell him his real name. With no choices open to him, Maximum takes off his helmet, lets Commodus see his face, and proclaims, "My name is Maximus Decimus Meridius, commander of the armies of the North, general of the Felix Legion, loyal servant to the true Emperor Marcus Aurelius, father to a murdered son, husband to a murdered wife, and I will have my vengeance in this life or the next." I am pretty sure it was this moment, this line of dialogue, that won Russell Crowe his Academy Award. Now you gotta remember, Commodus thought Maximus was dead, so he is stunned by the revelation, and Commodus gets ready to order Maximus executed there on the spot. But the crowd boos. Maximus has won over the crowd with his victory, and Commodus knows that he risks having Rome turn on him if he kills Maximus now, and so he lets him live by giving the thumbs up, and the crowd cheers. A little bit later, Lucilla, who also thought Maximus was dead, goes to see Maximus in the dungeons where the gladiators are kept. Initially, he wants to kill her, but she confides in him that she lives in constant fear of her brother and had absolutely nothing to do with Commodus sending soldiers to kill his wife and son. She tells him that since the mob loves him, he may be able to help overthrow her brother, and asks that Maximus meets a senator who wants Commodus removed too. But Maximus says no and sends her away. The next day back at the games, Commodus wants Maximus dead so badly, he arranges for the only undefeated gladiator champion to come out of retirement to fight and kill Maximus himself. However, the fight begins and a huge set of tigers comes rushing onto the field, only held back by restrictive chains in the arena. The fighters now have to face each other and be careful not to stray too far or be mauled by tigers. Eventually, Maximus downs his opponent, kills a couple of tigers, and when Commodus gives him the thumbs down to kill his opponent, Maximus refuses to kill him and lets him live. The crowd is dead silent at first because they want to see bloodshed. But then somebody in the audience yells, "Maximus the Merciful!" And the crowd again cheers and goes wild and begins to chant his name, "Maximus, Maximus," while deeply annoying Commodus at the same time. As Maximus is escorted out of the arena, he sees Cicero. I told you he'd be back in this story. Anyway, he tells Cicero to inform his men, who remember are very loyal to him, that the general lives and to find him later on. Cicero later finds Maximus and talks to him through the gate. He tells him his army is still loyal to him and would fight for him tomorrow if given the command. Maximus sends Cicero to find Lucilla to tell her that he will indeed meet with her senator that she wanted to introduce him to a little bit earlier. But remember, he refused. Well, he's changed his mind. Proximo brings Maximus to meet with Lucilla and her senator. They devise a plan that the senator will arrange to buy Maximus's freedom. He will then leave Rome, go to get his army, and then return to overthrow Commodus. Then Maximus will leave Rome and turn control of the empire back over to the Senate, which is what his beloved Caesar Marcus always wanted in the first place. Unfortunately, Commodus knows something is up with this senator who's not really loyal to him, so he sends soldiers to arrest the senator. Lucilla goes to see Maximus and tells him that they have to accelerate their plans to get him out. They talk of the love they once shared, and she kisses him passionately. Things get worse, though, as Commodus finds out that Lucilla is a part of the plot. Commodus lets Lucilla know that he is aware of their plot, and he tells her to give him all the details of Maximus's planned escape, or he will kill her and her son. Oh yeah, by the way, Lucilla has a kid that we really haven't mentioned yet up to this point, because honestly, he's just not that important, except for this one plot point, okay? Commodus threatens to kill his own nephew. He threatens to kill Lucilla's son. Okay, now you know. The Praetorian Guard go to the Gladiator barracks to take Maximus. However, Proximo helps Maximus escape and is killed by the Romans when they enter the barracks. Maximus gets outside the city, but the Romans are there waiting for him. They kill Cicero right in front of him, and they capture Maximus, of course, because Lucilla was forced to reveal their escape plan. So now Commodus has devised a new plan to kill Maximus and win over the crowd at the same time. He arranges a fight in the arena between himself and Maximus to the death. Except, you know he's going to cheat. Before they go out into the Colosseum, Commodus stabs Maximus while he is still chained up to make sure that he's already wounded and bleeding before the fight even starts. He believes that if the crowd sees him kill Maximus himself in battle, all of Rome will love him. Quintus, however, is there, and he sees what Commodus does and is disgusted with him. So the battle begins and it goes back and forth, but eventually Maximus disarms Commodus. But he can't capitalize on the advantage because he's just lost too much blood from the stab wounds and he's slowly dying. Commodus calls to Quintus to give him a sword, but Quintus, already disgusted with him, refuses and orders his men not to give the emperor any weapons. So Commodus reaches up his sleeve and pulls out the small knife that he already used to stab Maximus before the battle began, and he attacks the weakened Maximus, but to no avail. Maximus fights off his attack and then stabs Commodus with his own knife. The emperor is dead. Now, before he dies from his injuries, Maximus tells Quintus to free the other gladiators and to release the senator who had helped him, and that once he dies, the Senate will rule Rome on behalf of the people. Maximus then dies and sees his wife and son again, who have been waiting for him in the afterlife. In a truly badass moment, the senator who has just been freed walks up to Maximus's body in the arena and asks who will help carry him. The other gladiators and Quintus step forward as they carry Maximus out, leaving Commodus's carcass to rot alone in the arena. It's an absolutely beautiful scene. And that is how Gladiator ends. Gladiator is just so great. I've seen it probably 20 or 30 times. I will probably watch it 20 or 30 more times in the rest of my life. And I hope that you guys will now be inspired to go and watch the movie yourselves as well. Anyway, guys, that will do it for this installment of Movies in 20. Thanks for being here. My name's John Campea. And until next time, strength and honor.